reminded you that you are perfect, would you argue me down or step into your perfection? Welcome to Perfect Mode, where there are no excuses, no expectations, and we explore the world without limitations. I'm Jay Clay, rapper and spiritual teacher, with my co-host Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor. Let's be real, so let's be perfect. Perfect. Everything, anything, 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 perfect. Everything, anything, 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 perfect mode. Everything, anything, 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 perfect mode. Everything, anything, 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 perfect mode. Perfect mode, 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 everything, anything, 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 perfect mode, perfect mode, everything, anything, 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 perfect mode.
Perfect.
What up? Welcome to Perfect Mode. So I got to tell you something. So shout out. Welcome to Perfect Mode. I want to start out by telling y'all that we look.
Did you freeze on us?
Nah, I didn't freeze. So let me tell you this, man. I don't know why this is happening, but I can literally hear myself back in my ears over and over again. Like, and it's like talking about a crazy delay. And that's part of the reason why it took a second for me to pull us up, because I didn't know when the song was ending.
You still hear it?
Yeah, I can hear myself going.
Try to mute your laptop and see if that changes things.
Yeah, I can.
Nah.
Cool. All right, so hopefully, since I paused and got this thing back going, maybe everything is gonna work itself out. So, no, it didn't. It's coming, but we're gonna push through, right? Because we said authenticity over personality. So first off, let me tell y'all that we love y'all. We're grateful for the opportunity to be anywhere, sharing our thoughts the way that we see things, and hopefully helping you realize that you are perfect. And the reason why I can unapologetically say that is because I know that you are one of one, numero uno, and cannot be duplicated. And the only reason you will be looking at yourself and saying that you're not perfect is if you're looking at this person over here and saying, I'm not him. But guess what? You are you, and that's all you need. And of course, it's yours truly, Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor / broker. And I have my boy Jay Clay, spiritual rapper and teacher. And we're about to talk about authenticity over personality. What up, bro?
What up? Happy Sunday to all the perfect people in perfect people land and perfect people land, I guess. Just another day to be perfect, another day to flex that perfection and just roll with everything as it comes and realize that it's perfection in that too. So yeah. All right. So I'll kick things off. You still got the echo?
Bro, I'm looking at your mouth. No, it's good. It's cool though, because you know what? We're gonna make this thing do what it do.
Okay, because I'll say, I'll hold it down while you click. If you could redo your audio, maybe. Okay.
Well, while you're getting that much.
All right. So the basis of this, the authenticity over personality. Troy and I, we were talking in the after meeting the other day, last Sunday, and we were talking about just personality. So one of the main things about what we want to do is sometimes to do what you want, to have what you want to have, you have to be something you haven't been before, or someone that you're not used to being. And with that beingness, though, the thing that can stop your beingness is your personality. Like, meaning you could say, I wasn't raised that way. I'm not like that. My personality doesn't allow for me to do that, which it actually could. And I want to kind of break down that. But now that we got Troy back in a good way, go ahead and jump in there.
So a lot of what you said I didn't hear, but I will say this and just let you know, starting off my thoughts. When I first heard authenticity over personality, I was like, well, what does that truly mean? What is authenticity over personality? And then I thought about the times when I was able to express my personality, and then I don't feel like I was necessarily being authentic. And that was based off being in scenarios that were new to me. That was based off being in environments that I didn't feel comfortable in, and I felt like I had to be a specific type of way in order to fit the scene. And then, again, me thinking about it as we're talking about it, it was kind of a kick on my own authenticity, who I am, and not believing that I was enough. But that's kind of where my mind went when I first heard it, and I want to know, what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah. So, okay. So now about personality, I've been toying with this idea, kind of got confirmation, but we really have no personality. And I'll explain. So
I already know, man.
I was thinking about like just all the relationships I have with people, friendships, just any kind of relationship, period. Just with everybody, people that pass on the street. I realized I'm a different person with every single person I interact with. Like certain people know a certain part of me that others probably would never know, and vice versa, and so many things. And it's like, okay, we spend this much on our personality, spend this much time on developing who we are, but that is not at all. Like every new person we meet is an opportunity to see our personality from another perspective. And if you want to take that even further, it's like, okay, if we're seeing if every relationship or every interaction allows us to see our personality from another viewpoint, then it's not so much we're our personality, we're the other person as well. Because without that, we couldn't be who we are.
So, my mind went 1,000 different ways in just that alone, just the whole thought process of seeing ourselves from somebody else's viewpoint or somebody else's vantage point. But again, so this is where what you're saying has, credence or is valid to me, is because when you're interacting with people, you don't know what that person expects you to be anyway. You don't know what they are expecting out of you or how they want you to interact with them. So essentially, you create this fictitious thought process and say, whenever I'm around this person, this is the way that I'm going to be because this is the way that they like me, or this is the way that they expect me to respond. And funny, I kind of told this story, in the past where at some point when I was growing up, when I was around my friends, I was like the rah-rah guy. And I had like some pride in that. Like, if it's going down, I'm about that life, right? But then somewhere along that pathway, I felt like, I felt like that anyway, but I felt like that was my staple. And then what happened is I made a change. And when I made that change, I also anticipated everybody that thought or loved me for what I thought they loved me for was going to disappear. They were going to move out of my life. But then they just kind of was like, okay, well, cool. I like him that way. Well, this is the realization that I had anyway. I realized that it didn't necessarily make a difference, which again kind of validates your point when it comes to what we're putting out there. Like you cannot not like yourself, right? You cannot not, accept yourself. And then if you're trying to get a negative response from somebody, meaning you do something with a negative personality sense, you're getting exactly what you asked for anyway. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, it's like, so people give us the opportunity to be who we want to be. And it's kind of like certain things come to the surface when we're around certain people. And of course, those things can change. Like they can change by our intention. Like the story you gave, once you were willing to change and say, I don't want to be that anymore, it made you even question your relationships because those seem like the relationships that allowed you to be that person. But then you wondered, like you could have easily said, well, I don't want to hang around these people because I don't like myself around these people. But you gave them that opportunity too, which showed you that it's not even about your actions. It's something deeper, and that you can still, with all of your current relationships, foster a different type of energy being around them and them being around you.
So I love specifically the term that you used because I've literally heard people say this. I've heard people in relationships say this, where they say, I don't like myself when I'm with you, or I don't like myself when I'm around you. And again, the easy solution is to change that version of yourself that you are when you're around those people, like I did, to kind of see, how you feel back into a corner, like I can only be this way. having kids, number one, is the biggest blessing in the world, because they teach you a bunch of things, and you can see a lot of this stuff, straight up from the beginning. And so my 5-year-old specifically, Brody, right? Like, you would think that he doesn't have the mental capacity to be able to change himself amongst the different people who he visits, because at the end of the day, he hasn't necessarily lived enough, right? Like, a lot of this stuff you learn because once I was around this person, or at least this is what you believe anyway, I'm able to make adjustments based off of the environment. But him, like, he knows when he's at home, he can be a little bit cantankerous or disruptive in a sense, right? But when he's at school, they swear to God this kid could not do anything in the world that would disrupt anything in life. Like, he's the most amazing kid ever, right? And again, he is the most amazing kid ever. But one of the fears that we had was, what if he acts the way he acts at home at school, where he throws a fit, or he doesn't get his way and he cries? But he never does any of that, because he's able to shift who he is and how he maneuvers based off different people. So what I've been trying to do, and again, it's a test for myself, is to be able to, I still got to be his parent, right? You know what I'm saying? I still got to put parameters around, but I also try to do it in such a way where it allows him to not get outside of who I think is his best version of himself anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, when he's at school, there's a bit of happiness that I feel like is always going on, so it doesn't allow him to be there. And at home, he has rules and stuff that he can't do stuff. So I try to maneuver within it, so that way I can hopefully help him realize you don't have to be this if you don't want to. Here, go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, and it's cool too. Like, it's a lot of things with that, because even he could be using home as a test environment too. Like, okay, let me try this here first before I go take it to the public, or things of that nature. I was one of those kids where not for real, I was one of those kids that teachers use me as an example. Be more like Jelani, and all the kids like, you don't know, and it was just, but it was cool. It was a calibrating, because again, you could be who you want to be with anyone, where people like you hear the news stories when somebody did something crazy, they're like, oh, I didn't know he was capable of that, or I would never expect it. He wouldn't hurt a fly, or something of that nature. And even like in the Bible somewhere, I remember it saying something like, you have to go away from home to be, I don't know, respected or something. Maybe it doesn't say it like that, but the general idea is, like take Jesus. He was performing all these miracles. He went home and people like, what, little Jesus? He ain't doing no miracles. Jesus, he needs to cut this grass, just like things of that nature. But again, we don't realize that the power we have to change our environment by starting with our relationships with ourselves, but also realizing that relationships with others are relationships with ourselves, because we can see who we can actually be.
So, like, and to me, that's the biggest question of it all, is like, why is being me so scary? Why is being able to test the waters so scary when it's shallow? I mean, again, one of the things that I always talk about is the people that we have in our life are people that we want to be there. Like, I mean, it's nobody that's coming around you that you don't want to be around you, unless you're in a public place or something, right? But generally, all the people that you associate with are people that you literally unlock the door and said, come in. And now they are all a part of your life. Now, the scary part is, I allowed them to be here. If I just let go, 100%, these people that I want to be in my life are not going to be there anymore. And, I like to think about it from the standpoint of even from a racial divide. Like, I got different races that I'm cool with all across the board, that I literally deal with on a consistent basis, because I coach, right? Like, I got Black, Hispanic, white, Asian kids that, call me coach, like I'm, a dad to them. But the crazy part is the relationships that I've developed with all the parents. Now I approach all of these people as a coach versus as Troy Washington. Like, every conversation, every interaction, every emotional response that I have, all the feedback has to be geared toward I'm the coach. And so what I've been doing to kind of break myself out of things like that, again, the authenticity of it is, first of all, I don't want to be a coach 100% of the time, every time I'm talking to somebody. Never, right? But I felt like that's my place. So what I've been doing is I've been trying to throw a little bit of me in there, so that way, number one, I can remove that fear, and then also allow to test the waters to see what a true response is. Like, don't be afraid of the true response. But again, we pigeonhole ourselves and don't allow that to happen. Go ahead, Jay.
But and I agree 100%. But I want to say, in addition to that, the coach is the real you, but also whatever you're considering the real you is also the real you. And I think that's the thing that we're missing. Now, that doesn't mean, like you said, you can still cross the stream, so to speak. It doesn't have to be a straight divide. But then it kind of gets to the question, like, who is the real me? Because, like, these people allowing me to be the coach me, I didn't even know I could be the coach me. I don't even know what coach me does. I don't know how he thinks. And I get to explore coach me in that light, which then becomes the real me, which is reintegrated into everything. But it's just interesting how all these dynamics can play to who we think we really are, which is still more than we can even fathom that we really are.
So here's the deal, all right? To your point, right? And you 100% right. And I think that this is where we miss the boat, is when we talk about the authentic version of ourselves, we try to make it simple. We try to make it simplistic, but we are not. Like, we are complex, and or we are limitless, right? You know, in the grand scheme of things. And I think that's the point that I'm making. Like, I know who I am. At least I feel like I know who I am. And just Coach Troy is not the only version. Now, the problem is the rest of me that I would love to share, I am reluctant to, because, you know, again, these people that I let in, what if they just walk out? What if they don't let me coach their kids no more? You know, what if, again, Coach Troy, the reason why it's important, because Coach Troy is the real me. And I don't want to lose the kids that I'm coaching. And I do like to give them the feedback and the coaching that I give. But I also I'm also perfect mode. I'm also, every child wins. I'm also, a motivational speaker. I'm also a real estate broker, right? But again, with my real estate people, it's funny. Check this out. Yesterday, I was talking to one of my clients. I have a house on the market, right? And we have some things going on, and I was like, well, hey, I have an attorney that you can talk to. And she was like, oh, okay, cool. And she's like, well, how do you know the attorney? So this is the key, right? She asked me an open-ended question to give a little bit more about me, right? Well, the reason I know this person is because I'm a coach. I coached their kids for a long time. They're real good people. We kind of hang out. So now the real Troy, well, the extra, but that I tried to suppress, started to be in the forefront. And the funniest part was my client, you can just tell, she was like, huh? Like, she was just like, oh, that's pretty cool to know. Just good information. And you could, if you could be inside of me in that moment, you could feel the sense of weight. Now, it wasn't a true weight. It wasn't like I'm walking around like, oh, I can't be Troy, right? But there also was, when she allowed me to share who I was a little bit more, it was like, oh, okay, cool. Now I feel a little bit more free in this world walking around. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking about all of those times too, just growing up and things where someone found out something new about me. Like it was almost like a whole nother life. And I saw them recalibrate, because also they have a personality of whatever that entity was that they just now associated with me that they didn't before, and what that means. And it's always funny to witness. But I too have witnessed it too. Like, I'd be around friends or family, and you see them with other people, and it's like a switch. They change up. I don't even know if they know it, but it just happens, and you look at like, huh. But I never made a big fuss about it, because I realize I do the same thing too, and I wouldn't want anybody making a fuss about me switching for certain things. But it's interesting. Like even when I meet new people that maybe in some kind of business setting or something, I always wonder, how many times will it take until we break down this businessy barrier and start being what we would consider more us, even though that businessy self is ourself too, that we've made up to secure whatever jobs or business that we think we need to get, and thinking of who we need to be.
So partially to that point, like the limitation that you put on yourself, and again, it's part of our conversation all the time, is the same thing you have on other people too, right? And look, I'm guilty of it, bro. There have been plenty times where somebody came to me and was like, "So I do this," and then I've literally thought and probably said out loud a couple of them, "You do that?" You know what I'm saying? It's like I was holding them to it. And again, me thinking it back to myself of how it sounds to me, like, you didn't think I could do that. It's kind of a trick. And funny, again, I know for how I felt when people have said, and it depended on which one it was, like, "Oh, you do that too?" And then they would go on and say, "Man, you do everything. Like, you doing a lot of stuff." And again, it's remarkable again how the authentic self that we have and that we see in other people is so limited. It's like what I see you for 15 minutes a day on social media, on maybe in real life. I might see you out in the streets, but nobody, unless you live with somebody, you're not around them. But with that short span of time, you're able to say that, this is all a person is capable of, or this is all that I'm capable of. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I love you say that short span of time. The short span of time of everything, we made so many judgments about everything from a short period of time that has shaped our future relationships. It faced the way we would be in those relationships around just talking to people based on that little subset that may be an encounter that happened for 5 minutes. 5 minutes out of the 24 hours a day, 5 minutes out of the 24 hours times 7 days a week, we made all these assumptions and judgments and then lived according to them without even rechecking those judgments.
Yo, I'm just laughing at myself, bro, because, like, okay, when the crazy part about it is, and it kind of goes to show you where my mind was at the time as well. But just growing up, I've met people who have stated that they were millionaires, right? Like, personally, right? And the time that I was around those people was this short-lived time that we're speaking about. But I can recall myself going back and talking about these people. Now, mind you, on numerous occasions, right? I met a person, or I was around people because of a business function, or maybe, they want to do some business with me because of, me being involved with a lot of people. And they told me that they was a millionaire. And then I either went back at that time and not talked to you. I talked to my wife or a friend at the time and was just like, "Man, I met this person. They're a millionaire. They got this. They do this. They got all." And there's a certain level of energy that I had with just a short period of time, just from talking to somebody. Then on the flip side of that, I've met people that were not necessarily as equipped in their wallets as this person. And if first of all, the conversation probably wouldn't have even been brought up, because now I already devalued the relationship 100%, where they're not even worth me talking about. And again, that's in a 15 or short period of time. And and again, it's kind of how we're built up. And I know I'm guilty of that. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, no, it works both ways. Like, you could have even froze up by hearing that somebody is a billionaire. Like, like you might think that you're not worthy to talk to them. Well, one of the things that I'm amazed of is, like, I might have told you this before, the office of the president of the United States, right? Like, the level of respect presidents instantly get. And all they did was win a contest, essentially. Now, I'm not saying not to have respect. I'm just saying we should all have that respect for everybody. It shouldn't take a title. You know what I'm saying? So people more respect the title than, I guess, the person that assumes that title. But the title is nothing. It's just a construct that we've created in our minds. But again, that applies to so many things. There's so many titles that we associate unconsciously. We don't even realize it, but we associate with something great that, oh, man, you got to respect them. They did this. You got to respect them. They did that. But no, it should just be, you got to respect them just because. It shouldn't be a reason, but go ahead.
No. It's I'm telling you, bro, Mike, my mind is all over the place. Even when we're talking about titles and authenticity, and I'm going to take it to the hood, right? Like, growing up where I grew up, like, you know that we're all, you know, either lower income or middle income families, right? Like everybody has the same stuff. Like it's 100%. That's what it is, right? But then we create titles within that, right? Like you have somebody that can say, "Oh, he a real one," right? Or they real like, and it creates a whole like I know people that have told stories about people that were not real just because they said that they was real ones, right? And it just kind of go to show you how you're right 100%. Like when you put that title on, number one, everybody should get the same respect as a real one. Like the respect that a real one gets is nobody don't want to mess with them, nobody want to do anything, you know what I mean? But like we don't think it's crazy. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard so many people say they won't speak ill of the dead, yet they'll speak all kind of ills of the living, and it's like, what that makes no sense. You know, you're living, so why would you speak ill of the type that is of you? But we don't realize that because we place so many constructs and division that no wonder we can't be on one accord with ourselves because all of our relationships are split because we're split inside. So it's like that's why we have that. I don't know, whatever that is, where it's not peaceful relationships all across the board because we are stepping into the personality of conflict by bringing it up.
So let's talk about it now, right? So authenticity over personality, right? I personally feel that the majority of us, and again, I'm guilty of it, even though I stress authenticity as much as I possibly can. But I think that we most of the time walk around fitting scenarios that we feel like best serve us. Again, we have no clue, but we will walk into a room of people and be quiet because we feel like it's probably the best thing to do, right? So my question for you, for us to start to, I guess, dissect this even better, like, first of all, how do you recognize in yourself that you're allowing, and I'm not saying don't have a personality, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not what I mean. But how do you make sure that whenever you're out or you're doing things, your personality is a part of your authenticity, so that way you can operate fully you?
It's okay. That's a good question, and it depends on a number of factors. So one, like when we think, well, maybe I'm just speaking to myself. When I think of personality, I think it's a set thing. It's who I am. It's my core. It's my personality. Yet when I start to just check in and see, am I happy in this situation? Am I happy now? Am I happy now? The qualities of that change from day to day, from moment to moment, just based on what I find exciting at that period of time. Now my personality tells me I need to stick to this lane only, and like what you brought up about being a real one. With being a real one, people are who they've always been, not just who they are. Like it's kind of based on your past self. Like the reason people like McDonald's is because you know exactly what you're gonna get. You get the same thing. It's made the same exact way, same recipe, doesn't change. But if you go to a restaurant that says, "Oh, every day we got something different on the menu," they might not be as successful at McDonald's. And so, like we start to value the uniformity of it and the non-changelessness of it. But who we really are is always changing, is always evolving, is always like it's no set thing. So it's kind of changing our value system to appreciate who we are now, regardless of who we've been.
And so I think that's kind of the point. So in recognizing who you are right now, because again, right now I'm doing perfect mode. Right now I know exactly what's making me happy. Right, I know how everything goes. But I know that when this show is over with, I'm about to walk out the door. I'm about to go to this gym. There's going to be tons of people that I don't know, and there's going to be people that I barely know, right? And then whenever people approach me, depending on who approaches me, my stature is going to change. If it's somebody that grew up where I grew up and is black, I'm going to come with that look, yeah. You know what I'm saying? If it's not, then I'm going to come with the straight up. but nonetheless, it's going to elicit an emotion in me either way it goes, right? And it's not that I'm wrong for being, pleasurable in the greeting and I guess doing what might potentially feel what I think might feel comfortable to anybody else. But I think that being able to recognize in that moment that this feels weird to me, regardless, is a thing. And I guess when it comes to that part, and again, I kind of know how I handle it in my own mental, but I want to know what your thoughts are. Is how do once I recognize it, what is the next action so that way I can allow my authenticity to burst out?
Yeah. So you kind of said it in the beginning of letting go, because what could happen is, let's say you do recognize it. You're like, okay, I'm not being my authentic self, but then you're missing out on maybe the interactions with others, because now you're just in your own head. You're not even listening to what they're saying. You're not even allowing it to be a free thing. But if you kind of let it go, it can be how it is. Like I remember. So one question I've always had, and I still have this question, and maybe you can answer it. But it's kind of like, how long does it take before people to really get comfortable with each other? I remember when we used to go to the clubs and promote I'm On It and all our songs and stuff. It would seem like that number was 3 times. After I would see a person the third time, like first it's like, hey, second time it's like, oh, what's up? Last, oh, what's up? You just act like it's like you've known them your whole life, but you don't know anything about them. But then I remember in college, right? Shout out to Jerry. I remember when he first met me, I guess he identified me as somebody who understood in class and that he needed to be friendly. To his credit, I don't know how he did. He instantly acted like we were long time friends. I mean, we've been cool ever since. But that amazed me. It's like, how did that just happen? Like, I don't know you, but he's acting like he knew me. But it made me feel like I knew him. And I will say, to his credit, he was able to just be himself, or at least without any restrictions in that moment. But go ahead.
So so this is gonna be hopefully a part of this, but hopefully, but it just made me think though. So number one, the first part about that, Jay, is that, and this is for everybody. Like, we never know how many interactions somebody has with us. You only know how many interactions you have with them. And the reason why I say that is because the funniest part about when I was going out and doing the same thing, I would be with the DJ every week. And so everybody would always just be looking at me. So they started to know who I was before I knew them. So I might have had 3 interactions, but their third interaction was more like the 10th interaction with me. So they were like, oh, what's up? It's a whole nother thing, right? But the next part to that, or I guess that I say that is shouts out to my boy Bert, man. So we got a group. It's called Doves, WWP. And we were a group of guys at a time who were trying to do something different. We just wanted to be our own little group. We wasn't basketball players, we wasn't football players. We wanted to have our own little group, guys that's doing their own thing, right? So Barry comes up to me. I don't even know Mark at this time. And he comes up to me one day, or he comes up to all of us and be like, hey, I'm a dub. And we was like, well, me specifically, like, no, you not, dog. Like, you not rocking with us like that. And he was like, well, I don't care what y'all say, but this is what I am. And the reason why I bring it up, so number one, that is all authenticity for him. Like, I know, because the one thing, he's never changed. He's always been there. Now, again, I don't think that he was pigeonholed into being a certain way, because he literally just came and said, this is who I am. Y'all going to accept me for this. And that's kind of how he's operated his whole life. And the beautiful part of it is, I was like, no, dog. You are not my friend. You're not in my group, and you can't hang around me. And the beautiful part is, he was like, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing, and this is where I'm gonna be. And today, to this point, he is one of my best friends in the world. I mean, we call him my brother, but he is one of my best friends in the world. And the reason why I pointed out is because his authenticity could not be denied. The person who he truly was could not be denied. And I think that's the point that I want to make, that even when it doesn't necessarily look the way that you feel like it's supposed to look for yourself, right? You have to allow people the opportunity to get to know that, because you never know how far to go. He's one of my best friends. But go ahead, Jay.
So before I respond to that, I want to read what Angela said. Shout out to Angela. She said, your authenticity is who you are at core. Oftentimes, people meet our representatives first, regardless of the setting. It's not that you're being fake. Your guard is up. And I think that's okay. And then she said, it's not meant for everyone to experience you at your core. So to that, and I guess my response to that and to you, Troy, similarly is we have, it's no end to our core. So it's no, who are we at our core? We don't even know. Like, we can't even get to it because the relationships are what foster us to see who we are at our core. And without others, like we almost couldn't. It's kind of like, yeah, like that, to bring up the Bible again, it is not good for man to be alone. And I remember I always wondered why, but it's because we won't know who we are at all without that contrast. But also, you brought up another story about Mark that I found, which was great. And you said how he said one day y'all gonna call me Bear, and he just said, he's like, y'all not gonna call me this no more. Y'all gonna call me that. It was like that. Now he's being who he is, but in that he was saying, I'm no longer being who I was. Which, if you look at that, it's like that's not the same thing. But if you really look at it, it's the same thing, and that's what I mean. Like there's no real personality, so our authenticity is almost not real either, because it's just who we are in this moment.
No. I'm 100. I'm 100% with you though, and it's even funny that you even give me that story back about his name, because to me, so number one, so two things here, right? I love the fact, again, when you talk about the core, because to me that goes back to what I was saying in the very beginning. We have such a limited viewpoint on who we are and what we can be, how much we possess. Like I decide on my core, and then I in turn from that point operate outside of what I feel like my core is for my whole life. It goes back to when I was around my friends in the beginning. My core was, Troy is the dude that got your back no matter what, and you can call me and rah, let's go. It's just what it was, right? And so because I decided that was my core, I literally functioned that way all the time with 30 to 40 guys. It's just what it was. And I think that was a limiting thought for me, not for them, because we're going to accept people for what they get, right? Like, and that's the point that I want to make about Barrett. I don't know who he was. I had no clue. And he came and said, guess what? One thing that I am is your friend, period. You don't even get a choice in that mud. And imagine opposition when you're like, the reason why we don't want to change is because we don't want the opposition. We don't want to lose what we feel like we have. We're clinging on to an identity and saying that if I change this or if this maneuvers, then I lose everything. Bear is saying that it doesn't matter, and none of that stuff matters to me. This is what I want, right? You now go back to your point right now. Right now, I'm your friend. Right now, I'm Bear. Deal with it. And guess what? You would think that if you told somebody that you're gonna lose them. Yeah. Most people would. I feel like I would. There's no way that I can go to my wife right now and be like, this what this mug is. Well, I mean, I might, but I haven't ever done that like that. But this what this mug is, deal with it. You know what I mean? Because now I'm thinking about, well, what if she don't deal with it? What if she move around? Like, you know, he said deal with it. And him dealing with it, he is now one of my best friends in the world. Point. Go ahead, Jay.
And I think, like, because I'm trying to think, like, how is this useful information? How can we apply this about, you know, authenticity over personality? And again, like we always talking about our state of being, who we are, like who we want to be, and just being it. And in that sense, I think that is how we are to be. We are to proclaim who we are or who we want to be for the time being. Don't worry about the future. That might change in the future. But right now, this is it. Deal with it. So, like, similar to him saying that, he was also firm in it. He was not wavering. Like, even though it was opposition saying like, nah, this is not happening, he was like, no, this is happening. And a lot of people are drawn to that firmness because people don't have it. Like, people will waver at the slightest blow of the wind, and they'll fall and be scared. But when you stay firm in it, you can be who you are. There are times back in the day. Okay, I remember people used to say that the best rappers alive were Biggie and Jay-Z. And then I mean Biggie and Tupac. And then Jay-Z started saying best rapper alive. And then everybody started saying Jay-Z was the best rapper alive. But then Lil Wayne came out and said best rapper alive when the best rapper retired. And people started saying that Lil Wayne was the best rapper ever. And but in each of those instances, they stayed firm in that, which it I don't know if they became that or our perception was just changed by what they proclaimed. And with that, we can proclaim whatever we want as long as we're willing to stand in it, and it will be nothing that we can do about it, or no anyone can do about it. We can just be it.
So the question again is, what do you want to be right now? Not only that, if there is opposition, shouts out to Bear, can you stand in that like J. Clay said? Can you say that no matter what, and it's funny that I even think about this, because I think about how many people that you lose in your life when it comes to friendships and relationships. But can you say that no matter what, this is my friend, regardless of what they say? No matter what, I love this person, no matter what they say. Like, to me, that's forcing the authenticity, because in this moment, I just want to be happy. Well, how bad do you want to be happy? Can somebody come and upset what you have going on? Look, one of the things, so shouts out to my wife. My wife is a party planner. And it's a stressful to her situation. And, you know, one of the things about me that I proclaim to the world is that I'm a motivator. So that's part of the reason why I get to get all the stuff that I'm getting. She's going to get stressed. It's my job to try to motivate her. Like, guess what? You good. Don't worry about all that. Your stuff, like, I can't be mad at it, but here's the point, though, right? I know what part I play in this. I know what my role is. I know the authentic version of myself here. But when her gets to a certain level, so does mine. And that's not where it's supposed to be, because I've already stated and defined who I am. And because of that, that's the only reason I have to deal with her stress. But what will happen is that energy I allow to dictate my emotions. So now I'm gonna be authentic, and I'm still gonna push through to motivate. But along with it, I'm wearing that energy that she has. And I'm walking around, and now I've assumed personality. And that's kind of the part, like, what's wrong with you? Nothing. Just tired. Just, all of the extra stuff, like stress, all of that extra stuff that shouldn't be there. And that's kind of how we lose I guess, authenticity as well, because whenever there's opposition, even though it's what we might have asked for, we're not willing to stand our ground. Go ahead, Jay.
So here's the funny thing about that too. Like, once we proclaim who we are, it's like we're welcoming opposition. And let me explain. So, like, with Mark, aka Bear, every time you was like, no, you're not. We're not calling you that. You're not my friend. It gave him the ability to be who he said he wants to be. Like the same way. I know it's hard to imagine now, but there was a time when there was no separation between light and darkness. It was just what it was. Somebody said, "Let there be light," and then both lightness and darkness was created. And similar, when you said you were thinking about who you wanted to you proclaim to the world, I was like, well, who do I like to proclaim? And that is, I'm Mr. Positive. You can bring any negativity, any of the darkest of the dark, and I'm gonna find a way to make it positive and light. I enjoy doing that. So it's almost like I'm welcoming any negativity. And I know a lot of people don't. They're like, I gotta stay away from toxic. And I'm like, nah, bring it on. I'm gonna show you that it's not toxic. I'm gonna show you, but it gives me the platform to be who I want to be. So I say that to say, don't run from the opposition that's presented by you claiming who you are, because the opposition is only there to show you the difference, just to show you that, nah, you are this, stay in this, be this right now, and you will.
Nah, I'm 100% with you, and I love the fact that when the opposite, you said, speaking about Bear, my friend that made himself be my friend, when the opposition came, it allowed him an opportunity to show that he was truly my friend. Like that's what's funny about that. And again, same thing with my wife. Like when she's going through something, I cannot proclaim to myself, because it don't matter about anybody else at this point, right? Like it's the proclamation is what you're hearing. So I cannot proclaim to myself that I'm a motivator when opportunity presents itself to motivate and I don't do it. Like that should be automatic. And so using Bear as a vehicle, he said, "I'm your friend." And I said, "No, you're not." And then the next day he was like, "I'm your friend." And I was like, "No, you're not." And then the next day he was like, "I'm your friend." And so what started happening was I always had somebody there. And you know what I think about a friend? Somebody that's always there. And so it triggered one day that, you know what? This dude is my friend. Because if I had a friend that I could define, I would want somebody that's going to tell me that they're going to be my friend no matter what. I would want somebody that's going to be by my side no matter what. And so it's funny. So shouts out to him though, my brother. But again, I love the thought process of pushing through in your authenticity of the moment. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, and right. And it's so funny because it could work no other way. Like we couldn't be who we are without someone trying to tell us what we're not or show us what we're not. You know what I mean? Like that's the only way. And when you think about it like that way, it reverses everything. Like it changes your perception about any haters, about any doubters. Like it's like, yes, doubt me. Because it's like I get to be this. Like, and that's one thing I say. I love when, like, even in a setting like this where we're communicating about stuff like this, I love this because it's the only time I can show people from a different perspective how certain negative things are actually positive things. But if there is no opposition for that conversation, there's no conversation to be had on that subject. And so it's like by proclaiming who you are, you create the world where you are the embodiment of that and everything else is not. And you don't have to. I mean, you can just not proclaim anything. You can just be who you are. But the fun is in like, no, I want to be this in this moment right now, which can change later, but in this moment now.
So I'm gonna say this. Now I know earlier in the show I kind of talked about how we have that shock factor whenever somebody brings something new to us, which is part of the reason why we're reluctant to share who we are or be, authentic to other people in moments, because we're afraid of the reaction. But back to the shock part again. That's all about having a limiting mind frame. So the reason why I'm shocked is because, number one, I just didn't know that you could do that. I know what you were capable of. Now, once I got past that shock, I'm happy. I'm happy to know that there's somebody around me that can do this or has this capability. Even thinking about, my client, when I talked to her yesterday, the weight lifted off my shoulders when she was like, aha, oh, that's pretty cool. Troy, I didn't even know you did that, or you do that. That's pretty cool. And I think that for us, well, at least for me, with me recognizing that once I'm able to get over that initial shock, there's joy that comes. There's happiness for me on somebody else showing me who they are. And I guess the message is like, when you're not afraid to give people a little piece of you, they may be shocked at first. But in a lot of cases, there's going to be joy and happiness that follows, because now we're all here to provide. We're all creators. We're all here to provide who we are to other people. And so now you've given somebody else another tool in their toolbox to potentially use, because you allowed it to be a true thing. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, I love that, because the quicker we are who we are, which isn't, but who we want to be in this moment, the quicker we are that, then the quicker everything around us can be according to that. Like, for example, let's say our personality rubs people the wrong way. It's cool because it only rubs those people the wrong way. It's gonna attract a new group of people that it doesn't necessarily, but also the rubbing the people the wrong way is a good thing if you allow it, because it allows you to be that personality. Go ahead.
And then, and this is another thing, taking speculation out the window. Like, how do you know you rub somebody the wrong way unless they tell you? You know what I'm saying? That's a whole nother thing, right? And that's where I kind of always fail, because personally, I don't think that I'm a person that does anything to purposely hurt people or to rub them the wrong way. Now, because I believe that, I have to believe that other people believe the same thing about me. Like, Troy is not ever going to do anything purposely to hurt me or purposely to rub me the wrong way. But again, yet and still, I will be reluctant to do things, even if I have no intentions to do it, to not even allow myself to see how somebody will respond, because I've already deemed it a certain way, or as if I can't come back from it. Like, I can do something that potentially rubs you the wrong way, but it also gives you an opportunity to come to me and say, hey, Troy, I really wasn't feeling that. And now you want to talk about the greatest opportunity and authenticity. Now we can talk to each other, find out who we truly are, and now we can set the stage for it and put ourselves in a better situation anyway. But go ahead, Jay.
So, quick side note, like I know I'm the first one that said just now that rub you the wrong way. That, you know how I am about etymology and why we say things. I started thinking, why do we say rub you the wrong way? Was somebody getting rubbed? And it's just like, nope, that's the wrong way. So now, like, that's a funny saying now in my head, just because that makes no sense. Like, why like who gets rubbed the wrong way? Like,
the wrong way.
Who are you allowing to rub you? But anyway, back to the back to the conversation. So I guess to kind of recap, what would you say is the thing of authenticity over personality? Like how could you apply this in real time, in real space, being where you want to be?
So the first thing that I would say is, first, recognize that we're complex. Recognize that you are bigger than any individual thought in any moment. Like, that's number one. Like, but and I think realizing that allows you to open yourself up. That's the first thing. Number two would be to, once you realize that you are limitless, what do I want to be right now? Right? What's going to make me happy right now? Where can I fully express myself right now, and regardless of opposition, still be there, right? And I think that those, to me, when I think about, again, number one, and then number two, I think that you can really resolve the issue when it comes to taking the small steps to push your authenticity over the ledge. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually saw a clip this morning, kind of on this subject. Dame Dash, he was talking about like a test, and I don't believe it's necessarily a test, but we're saying the same thing. Where he said every time you do something new, right, and everything's going well, before you get over that hump, there's always like a test. And the way people fail it is they're ready to fight. They fight. He said he's failed many tests before, and I can relate. I failed tests before too, like, because you're not ready to stand firm in who you are. You're ready to be mad at somebody else for not giving you that acknowledgement that you should have gave yourself. Like, again, to use the same example, if somebody came to me and said, you are not Jelani Clay, you are not Jay Clay, doesn't matter to me, because I know who I am. You know what I mean?
Right.
I wouldn't want to fight them. But if there's somebody I'm trying to be Jay-Z, and they be like, you're not Jay-Z, then I'm ready to fight, because they're not. I'm blaming them for me not being me. You know what I mean? And so when we don't fight, when we stand firm in who we are, unapologetically but peacefully, then life is easy, and life can be ever changing and ever fun, because we can always change who we proclaim to be and be in that moment.
So, and I'm 100% with you, and I think that when you choose your authenticity, I think that it's tied to your ultimate joy in life. I think it's tied to your ultimate happiness as well. And just using myself as the example again, it's not that I'm walking around unhappy, because I'm rarely ever unhappy. It's always situational. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I guess everybody can say that, but for the most part, majority of the time, I like to be happy. And you know, a lot of that is using my wife as the example. I want to be a motivator. I need somebody to motivate. So whenever she is going through, you know, party woes, that should give me the most energy versus me assume, you know, the energy that she's given, because the purpose for her energy was not what she's using it for. The purpose of her energy was to engage me in my life, because that's what I've said about myself. And I think that just recognizing that is important for everybody. Like, you know, in your authenticity, what does that mean? And that's the reason why you got to really understand what that is in that moment. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. So, and I know we get low on time, so I kind of want to say this. Last week we talked about questions, asking deeper questions, and how like that quest is the way to our new state way of being, so to speak. And the question that I have now, and this is not really to be answered now, because I don't know if it can be, which is part of the quest I want to be on, is there a personality that can be developed that allows for all of this changing, that allows for the let going of the previous personality from moment to moment, only being true to yourself in the particular moment, and that being your true personality? For example, the sun, man. Like I'm always looking to the sun for examples. It's light no matter what. That light, it might pulsate, it might be a different kind of frequency, but you know it's gonna be light, and you like, there go the sun again, just being the sun, bringing warmth and light. But it still changes within that, but it's that. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I would tell you the one thing that you and I, it was a book, and I don't remember the name of the book at this moment, but it was a question. Where am I? When am I?
Now.
Where am I? When am I? I'm right here and I'm right now. And I think that, and also shouts out to Game of Thrones. Who am I? I'm nobody. I think that that's important that we kind of revisit that mentality over and over again, because again, we're always living in the future. We're always living in anticipation, which again is the thing that stagnates our moves and stops us from being who we truly are. And so I think that, you know, a good way to practice it is just to ask myself, you know, where am I? I'm right here. When am I? I'm right now. And be able to meditate on that, to realize, okay, well, since I'm right here and I'm right now, what does that mean for me? What's going to bring me the most happiness? Go ahead, Jay.
Man, I just got an answer to that. Like, what that means is, like, where am I? I'm here, and when am I now? Like, that's the only personality that should matter.
That's the only thing that matters, man.
That's it. So you don't have to have your whole personality for your whole life and later and before. But yeah. So, but anyway, I appreciate everybody that rocked with us today. Great show. Like, yeah, it's some stuff I'm gonna use. If you found this helpful, hit that share button, hit that like button, subscribe, all that. Also, we starting something new. We have an email list that you can sign up for. The link, we put it in the description, but it's also perfectmodenow.com/subscribe. And in it, we're gonna have a recap of this, like a written recap that we send out every week. It has affirmations to say to kind of stay in this field, meditation prompts, journal prompts, all of that. I tested it out with last week's episode. It is powerful. So and I'm looking forward to doing this work too, because it just leads us to ourselves. So
join the newsletter. Join the newsletter. And I just want to tell y'all that we're grateful for y'all, because if it wasn't for y'all, we wouldn't be here. We'd definitely be doing something, but we wouldn't be here. But because of our authenticity and what we want out of life, you know, we doing what we feel like is important right now. And so, yeah, you know, check out that email list. And Jay, you can take us out, bro.
Yeah, remember, you're a perfect creation made by a perfect creator. So you might as well accept your perfection and enter perfect mode.
Yeah.
If I reminded you that you are perfect, would you argue me down or step into your perfection? Welcome to perfect mode, where there are no excuses, no expectations, and we explore the world without limitations. I'm Jay Clay, rapper, the spiritual teacher, with my co-host Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor. Let's be real, so let's be perfect. Everything